You're welcome to our YouTube channel. This is The Gifts. If you're new, please make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. So today I'm here again for a very interesting topic. So we'll be talking about ovulation today. I believe it will help one or two persons. And don't also think you already know what ovulation means. Just pay attention. I believe you learn one or two things, and you'll be amazed also what you think or what you thought you knew that wasn't the right perspective when it comes to ovulation. And don't forget, we are actually taking them step by step. We are trying to get it in line with fertility and to know the most sensitive and fertile period, which we will see after this ovulation, explaining ovulation. So let's get straight in. What is ovulation? It's best you know what it means first before you know how to realize you are ovulating. So what is ovulation? Ovulation is the process by which an egg or ovum is being released from the ovary. So, and this process happens in a particular day in your menstrual cycle. And in each cycle, it happens just once. So that's why ovulation is very, very important. If you're able to understand the day you're ovulating or the period of your ovulation, then it's easy to be able for you to understand the days that you are most fertile in your menstrual cycle. And ovulation usually takes place in your mid-cycle. So it's always 14th day plus or minus for a 28-day cycle. So we'll come to the calculation of ovulation day, but I want to quickly to get to how do I know I'm ovulating? What signs do I see to know that I'm ovulating? One of the signs you see is that there will be changes in your discharge. So there will be changes in the mucus that comes out from your vagina. So we call it cervical mucus. So there will be changes there. It will be kind of sticky. If you are the observant type, you notice there's a change in your cervical mucus, the discharge and the texture. Another thing you will notice is that you will notice breast tenderness or enlargement. Remember, these things are, if you are very, very observant, in a particular time in your cycle, you observe these kind of changes. So if there's breast tenderness, there's enlargement. Another thing, number 3, is that you notice that there's increase in libido. That part of the month when you seem more attracted to the opposite sex. Of course, now we're assuming you are married. So when you seem more attracted to your husband, when you seem like you want pleasure, better put, this is the time you want to have sex. So that's the time you want to really, really have good sex. So it's a sign also. Another thing that is a sign is what we call basal temperature. So if you're able to take your temperature chart for the entire month, it's something you can do from beginning of your menstrual cycle. From the first day, you begin to jot your temperature, check it each day, and you see a time when there is deviation, there's a kind of increase. So it's a sign. By the time you do it first month, 2 months, you will know that this is a pointer, and it happens so period of the month. And that thing we'll see is abdominal bloating. You can have bloated stomach. You know that you don't have any abdominal issues. It's not that you ate anything outside what you usually eat, but you just notice that your abdomen is bloating. So that is also a sign. Don't forget, you have to rule out every other factors that can cause your abdomen to bloat. So you have to rule it out before you take it as a pointer. Also, there are changes we see in cervix. This might be a little bit difficult for an individual to determine that herself, but on examination, there are changes you notice on the cervix. It becomes softer, not as hard as it used to be. Another thing I want us to look at is your cravings. So your cravings will change. There are things, a particular point in time, you crave so much for in that particular time of the month. Just your cravings, you notice that it changes. Even your eating habits can change. That period, you can lose appetite for other things you usually eat, but you are craving for one particular thing, so it's also a sign. All these can be difficult for one to determine, but yet, if you're still not convinced, you can also get an ovulation test kit to check these things. So these are just examples of how to determine and to know that you're ovulating. Now, the next question that will come is, how do I calculate my ovulation? Even though there are some examples that has been given as pointer, how do I calculate? How do I know this is my mid-cycle? And this question often arises from people that their cycle is irregular. There are cycles that are irregular. Well, it can be irregularly regular, meaning that like I gave the example earlier, that ovulation occurs mid-cycle for a 28-day cycle. Of course, this will tend to be norm. There are others which their norm is 21-day cycle. There are others which their norm is 24. There are others which their norm is 31. There are others which their norm is 35. It varies. And there's nothing to worry about actually. What do you do in this kind of case? Before I tell you what to do and how to calculate it, it's important to know that this particular cycle is divided into two. I won't go into details, but the first part is the follicular phase, and the latter part is the ovulatory phase or ovulatory cycle, as the case may be. So the follicular phase is when the egg is yet to be matured and processes of the endometrial lining thickening in preparation of fertilization. The uterus prepares itself in anticipation that there is something that is coming. Eventually, the egg is released. Once it's released, that is the end of the follicular phase. Now we go to the ovulatory phase, but this is what you need to note here. Irrespective of the duration of your menstrual cycle, the ovulatory phase seems not to change. You are paying attention rather to the follicular phase. I will explain, I'm coming. So let's take for example, you have your cycle is 21 days. And better put, okay, before we come to understand how many days is your cycle, because some say, I don't know how many days my cycle. You can get a paper and begin to take note of these things. If yours has been irregular, calculate it for the period of, let's say, 6 months. At the end of 6 months, for each cycle, how many days is it? Then you get the mean value, and that becomes your average menstrual cycle. So let's come back. So if you are having 21 days cycle, what it means is that unlike that of 28 days that the ovulation come midway, which is on the 14 days, plus or minus of course, yours will be happening on the 7th day. So if you're having 24 days cycle, what does that mean? It means that yours will be occurring around the 10th day of your cycle. That's when your ovulation is. So if your cycle is 31 days, so we're looking at your ovulation occurring at about the 17th day. If it's 35 day cycle, we're looking at your ovulation occurring about the 21st day in the cycle. So I hope this is not confusing. The follicular phase is actually the determining factor. That is what you need to note. And that is actually what makes the cycle fluctuate. Some having 28 days, some having 24, some having 31. It is not dependent on the ovulation. It's not rather on the ovulatory phase rather. So it seems to be constant irrespective of what happens with the follicular phase. So if you've known up to this point and how to calculate your ovulation and how to know when you're ovulating, the signs you will see, the body changes you will see, your calculation being accurate with the little math we've just done. I would have wished, there's a board to write it or something, to show a graph. But I believe I was slow enough, speaking, and I believe you could get it. And if you've known all these, it becomes easy to calculate the most fertile period in your cycle. And I will pause here I will come back very shortly and I will explain to you the most fertile period in your menstrual cycle. Stay tuned.